So I just got done watching this video online of Bill Nye the Science Guy talking about abortion and women's rights. And I gotta be honest, at first I thought it was satire. I thought he was kidding. But the longer I watched, the more I realized, no, this guy is actually serious. He believes what he's saying, and he thinks that it's a good argument. So one of the big points he tries to make at the beginning of this video is that a lot of eggs, ova, are fertilized by male sperm. And he makes this big deal about the fact that that can't possibly be a real human being. And so here's the thing, Bill Nye, the science guy whose degree is in engineering and has nothing to do with biology or anatomy. This debate about life and death and abortion and is this a human being inside of a woman's womb, if you want to have a discussion about the point of conception and whether or not the morning after pill is really an abortion or not, that's a good conversation to have, I guess, but that's not why people protest abortion clinics. With all of these scientific advances that you say are so great and so helpful and that we should listen to, have you ever looked at a sonogram? You know, I looked at Planned Parenthood's own website and they had this statistic that I think was supposed to make me feel better, and they said that, you know, only 1.2% of abortions that happen in the United States happen after the first trimester. But in that same article they say that there's over 1.1 million abortions performed in the United States every year. So even if Planned Parenthood statistics are correct, which you'll excuse me for not always believing what Planned Parenthood says, 1.2% of 1.1 million is 13,000. 13,200 abortions happening after the first trimester every year. So I suppose there really is benefit to a conversation about the moment of conception when the sperm first fertilizes the egg. Is that a human being? That's a good conversation to have. But the conversation I think we need to have is in the second trimester. Are you really going to tell me that that is not a human being? 13,200 per year. And you tell me, science guy, when does the fetus become a human life? At least be honest, there are people on one side of the argument who would say that up to the moment where the baby passes through the birth canal, it's still just a fetus and not a human being. But all of this science that you keep pointing to, it's not really that exact, is it? Let me ask you a question. When does a child become an adolescent? Is it when they're 15? 13? 12, 11. So the process of human development in life is not something that you can look in a textbook and point to a certain number and says it happens at this moment of this month of this week. So when you start talking about it's not a human being, it's not a baby yet, when does it become a baby? Because the onus is on the person who's going to destroy that potential life. So when is it? 30 weeks? 25 weeks? 20 weeks? Does something magical happen on the 7th day of the 19th week in every single pregnancy, that on the 19th week it's okay to kill a fetus, but on the 20th week it's now a human being? Would you bet a child's life on it? And Bill, please stop being so condescending about people of faith. This isn't really even a religious argument. I haven't said anything about the Bible or God or Jesus. Please stop acting like everyone who's interested in protecting the life in the womb of a mother has to be some right-wing nutjob who only reads their Bible and has never picked up a science book and doesn't know what a microscope is. Bill, look through your microscopes. Check out a sonogram sometime. You know, back in the 1970s, we didn't have things like 3D sonograms where we could look at our babies smile in the womb, where we could see them kick and prod and suck their thumbs. Yeah, Bill, there are a lot of important issues that we face as humanity today. But if we're killing 1.1 million babies every year in America, and forget that, if we're killing 13,200 babies every year in America, the problem needs to be addressed. The issue of pregnancy and life and abortion is so much more complex than most of us want to admit. But maybe we shouldn't let a TV star pretend scientist sit in a chair on Facebook and tell us how to think about this really important issue. So the really tragic thing about this whole conversation is we don't sit down and talk through the facts together. Bill, you want us to look at the data. Would you sit down with somebody and actually look at the data? Would you sit down with someone and look at the science with them? Abortion and life and pregnancy, it's a terribly emotionally charged issue, I understand. And I said that this is not a religious issue. This doesn't have to be a faith issue, and I stand by that. But unfortunately, a lot of my brothers and sisters in Christ, a lot of Christians in the name of Christ have done and said some really, really ugly things surrounding this issue. And if you happen to be watching this, and you're a person who's been affected negatively by people who claim to follow Jesus and have condemned you and who have accused you and have tried to make you feel stupid, I apologize. I apologize on behalf of these people. That's not what following Jesus is supposed to mean. But we have to figure this out. And if one day science can show us beyond the shadow of a doubt that a human fetus isn't actually a real human being until, I don't know, delivery, or the 3rd trimester, or the 2nd trimester, well then I guess we would have to talk again. But please stop pretending like science has actually showed that. Bill, you said in your video to claim that you know what the next step is when you obviously don't, it's trouble. Bill, do you know? Do you know what the next step is? Do you know when a fetus becomes a human being? Would you bet a child's life on it?
Come on. Come on. Let's work together.
So let's work together then. Let's sit down and have a real conversation and try and figure out what life is and talk about how to protect it.